great movie for losers.
Welcome to the Too Old or Pure Gold Movie Podcast. Today's episode is a special May the 4th episode, and we're discussing the 1977 groundbreaking sci-fi movie Star Wars.
Yay!
And back when I saw this in the theater, it was just called Star Wars, but the current updated title is Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. The format of our podcast, two Gen Xers rewatch beloved movies from our youth to find out, are they really as good as we remember? To help us debate and ultimately pass judgment, we ask our millennial co-hosts to watch these movies for the first time and help us determine, are they too old or pure gold? I'm your host, Olen Vanderleeden, representing Gen X. Joining me today is my Gen X co-host, Matthew Stockton.
Hello, everybody.
Representing the millennials, we're excited to have comedian and host of the very entertaining, absolutely obscure movie podcast, Josh Fleming, returning.
Hello, thanks for having me back.
We're glad to have you back, Josh.
I appreciate it.
We also have Sean, who's here as our expert on planet-destroying weapons.
Hello. It was my undergrad.
And rounding out today's cast, we have Gen Z representative and Star Wars contrarian Nicole, who's here to make sure the nerds don't go unchecked. Before we get into this episode, just a reminder, the only way we can grow this podcast is with support from our listeners. So remember to like, subscribe, comment, follow us on social media, and most importantly, recommend us to someone. Today's movie is the 1977 sci-fi movie Star Wars, starring Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and Carrie Fisher. The movie is written and directed by George Lucas. The tagline from the movie poster is, "A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away." It's classic. IMDb describes the movie as, Luke Skywalker joins forces with a Jedi Knight, a cocky pilot, a Wookiee, and two droids to save the galaxy from the Empire's world-destroying battle station, while also attempting to rescue Princess Leia from the mysterious Darth Vader. And for those of you that have not seen the movie, I asked my 93-year-old dad to watch Star Wars. For the first time, by the way.
Wow.
This should be good.
Imagine a faraway galaxy of many, many planets with a group of people who want total control of the galaxy. That group is called the Galactic Empire. And they have an emperor and an enforcer. And the enforcer is called Darth Vader. Well, the Empire has a moon-sized weapon that can destroy the other planets in the galaxy, and that has to be stopped. But there's also the good guys, the so-called Rebel Alliance. And they had a leader who was Princess Leia. Princess Leia had been imprisoned, and she had to be freed. Luke Skywalker was the most important one, actually. He had a skill called the Force, and it was a magic way of battling, and he had been taught this by Obi-Wan Kenobi, who was a teacher, and he knew all about the Force. And then there was Han Solo. He was the pilot, and he had two androids. One was R2-D2. He was a mechanical brain, and he helped a lot. And then there was C-3PO. There were also animals. Animals, very unusual. And they were shown to show that the galaxy was extremely large area, extremely, so that there were all kinds of different worlds, including a world with animals. And then there were the soldiers, and the soldiers were sort of funny because they walked in twos, and they were sort of almost doing like a little dance every time you saw them, high-speed dance. Princess Leia was freed eventually by using the X-Wing starfighter and dealing with the Death Star, and they were all awarded medals, and that was the end. The good guys won.
I mean, they didn't all get medals, but that's a later topic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, poor Wookiee.
And all the other fighter pilots. That's fine.
Yeah,
We'll move
everybody
on.
else. Just the three. Okay, so a quick reaction to this before we get into what I think is going to be a very lengthy discussion. Who's going?
Do you want me to geek out at the beginning here?
Sure, you go for it. Let's get this over with. I mean, let's get
You
right to the exciting part.
You bastard! Let's get Matthew's part over with so it can be exciting. So, okay, let me frame this. Okay, I love this movie. Okay, I always have. And I think to understand why this was such a big cultural moment and why it had such staying power, we have to look at how George Lucas wrote this film. So Star Wars wasn't just a space opera or a sci-fi. He actually smuggled mythology into pop culture. So he read these books by a man named Joseph Campbell. And if you skipped Mythology 101 in university, Campbell was a scholar who wrote The Hero with a Thousand Faces. And what he did was he realized by studying myths around cultures since the beginning of time, he realized there's one story that we just keep telling over and over and over again. And that story has like one structure. And Lucas actually read The Hero with a Thousand Faces and was like, aha, I know how to write this story. And he followed the exact, it's now called the monomyth, where there are 12 stages in this myth. And he followed that structure. And this structure goes from the Odyssey to like the story of Jesus to the Lion King. Even the Barbie movie follows this structure, which is really cool.
Pew pew.
Yeah, exactly. And, because Campbell said that these myths are what we call public dreams. They help us make sense out of life and death and identity and purpose. And so I want to take you guys through these 12 steps in Star Wars. Can I do that?
Which step is denial?
Okay. So step one is ordinary world. So there's an ordinary guy in an ordinary world. So Luke's stuck on a desert rock whining about chores and dreaming about the stars. Basically, he's a sad boy with a telescope, right? And then the next stage is call to adventure. This is Princess Leia sends the hologram. Help me, Obi-Wan. You're my only hope, right? And yes, you too, awkward farm boy, is kind of implied. The step 3 is refusal of the call. So Luke's like, I can't go fight the Empire. I have chores. Like classic. He was such a flake, wasn't he? Oh my God.
That was a decent.
Sure.
I have chores. And then, so that's
That's my new excuse when people ask me to go.
I have chores. So that was
I have chores.
that was refusal of the call, and then meeting the mentor. Of course, Obi-Wan shows up, right? The 5th stage is crossing the threshold. So this is when Aunt and Uncle get crispy fried, right? So no turning back now. Congratulations, orphan boy. You now have motivation. And then you have tests, allies, and enemies. At that Mos Eisley place, the space smugglers. I love that scene. The bar fights, the Death Star hijinks. It's all a crash course for Luke on adulting, sort of Star Wars style. And then the 7th stage, Campbell called the approach the inmost cave. And this is when they sneak into the Death Star to save the princess. It's literally a space cave, right? With lasers and trash monsters and daddy issues. And then the 8th stage is ordeal.
Daddy issues.
All my favorite things.
The 8th stage is ordeal. When Obi-Wan dies, Luke watches it happen, and nothing says character development like losing your wizard granddad. And then the 9th is reward. They escape with the plans. Mission technically accomplished. The road back. The rebels plan their attack. Now it's personal. Resurrection. Luke flies into the trench, hears Obi-Wan's ghosts, and ditches the tech for the Force, right? Magic wins. Return of the Elixir is Death Star goes boom. Luke and Han get medals. Chewie gets robbed. The galaxy gets hope, and Luke gets swagger. So that's like over and over and over and over again, those 12 stages. It was originally 17, but I think Hollywood made it 12 because I think most Hollywood writers have been in 12-step programs. I think that's why. And it's fascinating. I could do Barbie as well, which is hilarious. It ends with returning the elixir. She goes to the gynecologist, but it's classic, and I think this is why this story is so damn good, because he followed this like classic mythology that, I mean, when did this come out? All in 1977.
77.
Right, and we're still watching it regularly. Right, it's a new myth that we all love. It's fantastic. You can cut that shorter if you want to, but I thought it was really cool.
No, I'm going to leave it in.
Okay.
The audience needs to know what we deal with you.
He's gonna add fart noises over.
Do you want me to do Barbie now?
No, I do not. Save that for the 7th hour of this 1 hour podcast. But Josh, can you tell me what you think of this movie in less than 12 steps?
First, you have to admit that you like this movie.
I do like this movie a lot. I don't have like nostalgia for Star Wars. I wasn't a big fan as a kid. I never really gave space things a chance as a kid. And then it wasn't until I'm a big J.J. Abrams fan, and once he was going to make the Force Awakens is when I was like, you know what, I'm going to go through all these movies and hop on board. So I watched them all for the first time, what was that, like 10 years ago maybe? And I think I've seen them all. This will be my 3rd watch. But I think the first time around I was kind of like, I've heard people say that like, it's just like a little bit slow and just kind of goes through the numbers, but I do think on every rewatch I enjoy it a little more, and I think I think it's that's great the way you laid it out there with the 12 steps, but it is classic. It's so easy to follow, it's so easy to get on board. I think once they get on board the ship, I think it's like nothing but action after that, and all interesting, and pulls you in the whole time.
Yeah, interesting to hear the perspective of people that didn't see it in the day, because for me, this was the first movie I saw in the theater that wasn't a cartoon. This was my first real movie in a theater, and so, obviously I remember it fondly. I mean, it blew my mind at the time, and at the time we had nothing like this. Like, it was pretty spectacular. I do think on a rewatch, like, I'm not a super fan. I'm not one of the super fans. I think it's a great piece of movie history. I think the effects are very good for the day. I think the characters are good, and it's a fun movie. But I'm not a super fan.
Well, I'm an odd fan, because I am in many ways a Star Wars fanatic. I grew up on it. Oddly, much more the video games, which were a huge thing when I was young, but also the movies. But I'm not a Star Wars apologist. I love this movie with all my heart. I also think it's bad. And also, one of the most interesting things for me was when I sat down with my wife and made her watch all of Star Wars, because it was a requirement of being.
Good thing you locked in that wife part first, because if you did that in the dating phase, you would not.
No, I knew the right order. But watching it through her eyes was fascinating, because you see all the things that do not hold up at all.
Well, speaking of which, Nicole, tell us what you think of Star Wars.
I don't like Star Wars.
Boo.
I don't understand the hype at all. But you know what I don't like? You know what I hate more than I hate Star Wars? Star Wars fans. I hate them. I am not exaggerating at all when I say, if I'm on a dating app and I see any hint that someone likes Star Wars, I swipe no. I hate Star Wars people.
Wow.
This is awkward.
All right.
Well, you're fine, because you acknowledge that it's bad.
Some of it.
You acknowledge, you love it, but it's bad.
I mean,
but I don't like people who wear like Star Wars shirts and they're like, oh, you have to watch it. It's the best. It's like, you can't live until you've watched Star Wars.
I could break it down in 12 steps.
Oh! So, just so you guys know, I'm not a super fan. Nicole, you like my husband. He's a super fan.
I don't know if I can be his friend anymore, though.
He's more of a Star Trek guy, though, I think.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
No, it's interesting. I mean, there are some crazy super fans out there. Happy May the 4th, by the way, listening audience.
I just... So many people my whole life have been like, you haven't seen Star Wars? You're not living yet. I'm like, no, it's not good. Like, I understand. I don't even hate Star Wars fans who are like dad's generation. Like, that I understand, because for its time, it was something special. But people who are my age who love Star Wars so much, I just don't understand it. There's so many better things out there.
I kind of agree with you there. Like, we were the OG Star Wars fans, right? And when it was like this spectacle that nobody had ever seen before, and like ever since the first three movies were done, I think it's just been. I don't like any of the new stuff at all.
Yeah.
The thing is with Star Wars is there is so much Star Wars that there is a thing for everyone to fall in and become the fanatic, right? You don't have to like the Star Wars movies. I actually personally think the Star Wars movies are the worst things of Star Wars. But there is so much out there. The video games, amazing ones. Books, amazing ones. TV shows, there's so many different ways. Cartoons.
Well, then remember the lunch boxes.
No,
I
lunchboxes.
suspect most modern fans come from the cartoons, actually.
I'm not sure I even knew there were cartoons. I
did not
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, interesting.
The only thing I really like from the Star Wars franchise is there's one Star Wars video game I used to play with one of my friends, and I have fond memories of it because I was so in love with that girl, and I would play Star Wars games with her.
Oh, God. The
that's
things
why.
you do for love.
Well,
The sad, yearning gay in me liked it just because I got to hang out with her.
You're so funny.
we'll talk a little bit about the franchise a bit later, but I do think this is kind of a piece of cinema history. You know, like it or not. Josh, you're a cinephile. You know your movies. What do you think about the legacy of this movie, the impact this movie has had?
I mean, yeah, I think it's. I kind of agree with the that there's something for everybody, really, because I know there's people who got in on like the prequels, which I'm not a big fan of, and I myself do like the newer. I won't say trilogy because I thought 9 was garbage, but I liked 7 and 8 a lot. And then the TV shows, I think, are some of the best stuff too. Like, I love Mandalorian, but I mean, it's kind of even as someone who didn't see it to my like 30s or late 20s, I knew so much of it just because of through the zeitgeist of everything, you know. Like, I mean, everything spoofs it and has mentioned.
It's hard not to.
Yeah.
It's hard not to be aware of Star Wars.
I think the funniest thing is when people go to the first one and there's so many things they know that aren't in the first one, like Yoda, you know, the reveals and all that stuff. Like, it's funny that lots of the stuff is also just from the sequels, you know?
I'll add that The Mandalorian is a great example of the diversity of this series because that is basically a Western in Star Wars wrapping.
No, it's interesting, and I think Star Wars is more popular now than it ever was, even in the day. And, you know, Matthew, you have a lot of kind things to say about, you know, the construction of this movie by George Lucas. I still wonder if he just did like a good guy, bad guy, throw a couple of Muppets in there and film that movie, and that somehow the lore of the movie has grown since then. Well,
Yeah, no, he talks about this, and there was actually an interview with him and George Lucas, with him and Joseph Campbell. So he actually has talked many times about how he structured it.
Well, what do you think? Talking about the impact of this movie, do you think 500 years from now people are still going to watch this movie?
No, because the
Unfortunately,
planet will be dead.
Wow, that's
As long
dark.
as humans live, I think Star Wars will exist.
Yeah, so another 60 years.
Don't make me sad. It's too early for that, Matthew.
It's okay, you'll be dead.
Okay, so
Okay. Matthew, I love you, but you're scaring me. Let me live in denial.
So let me ask this. Was this actually groundbreaking? Because we already had Star Trek at this point
And Doctor Who.
and Doctor Who. And I know that George Lucas credits both Dune and Flash Gordon as stories that influenced him on this. So was this groundbreaking?
Yes.
All right, moving on.
What do you guys? What do you
I
guys
mean,
think,
it's
Josh,
hard, it's
Sean?
hard
I
for me
wasn't
to
alive
say.
when this
yeah,
came
it's hard
out,
for me to
but-
say because I wasn't alive either. But I would say, based on the fact that it's held up so well, even like you're saying Star Trek and stuff all coming before, I think it's had a bigger impact
I mean,
than that. But they obviously you could argue that all day. Fans of both, I guess.
yes. Though the most upsetting thing to me as a Dune fan is people being like, "Oh, they copied Star Wars."
Yeah, Dune was definitely first, and there was a spice mining reference in Star Wars that I caught after I'd read that. Anyhow,
Look, the best thing of Star Wars is the world around it.
what do you guys think? Restored version or original? The one that Nicole and I watched was the restored version. George Lucas went back and inserted a bunch of creatures in the background and added things to it.
I know people are very strong about either way. I think it's unfortunately not simple. It's half and half. Some of the changes make a huge difference and help. Some of the changes are incredibly stupid and detract.
Well, I don't remember the non-restored version. I don't remember if that's the one we used to watch. But I love a good creature. One of my few good notes was that I love creatures. So all the creatures in it made me happy.
Or as your grandpa calls them, animals. Chewbacca's not an animal!
That was my favorite part of his.
He's just a little guy.
Matthew, did you have any of the toys?
This is how I found out. Okay, if you're listening with your children, please make them leave the room right now.
I know where you're going, and
this
I'm
is-
not happy to hear
This is how I found out. No, you don't. This is how I found out there's no Santa Claus. Because my brother and I got the X-Wing fighter and the bad guy one. What's it called? Anyway,
TIE
we
fighter?
got all these Star Wars toys, and we found them in the spare bedroom and played with them for like 3 months before Christmas and carefully put them back in the box. And then on Christmas morning, it was from Santa Claus, and I'm like, oh.
you rascal.
Well,
I was C-3PO. My brother was R2-D2. When it was
were
the
you in a
robot.
trash can? Were you in a?
No, we had the models, we had the lunch boxes, we had the toys, we had the action figures. We didn't
God,
get the.
were you rich?
We didn't know. We didn't get. My mom would splurge at Christmas. We didn't have. These came later. They're sort of plastic lightsabers, but we used to use the wrapping paper roller.
Oh, I did that.
And pretend that they were lightsabers.
It's more fun with fluorescent tube light bulbs, but
And it adds the extra danger, just like a real lightsaber.
well, I had a couple of them, not a lot, but one of my favorite toys of all time was my dad did. Shout out to Peter's plot summary. We couldn't get Darth Vader in the town I lived in, so he was on a trip to Toronto and came back with the Darth Vader action toy for me. And dummy that I am, I played with it, and I shouldn't have done that because I looked it up. It would have been worth $2,500 today.
My husband's mom gave away all of his action figures when he went to uni, not telling him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Opa told me that story actually. He was telling me about, I was like, I didn't know who Darth Vader was, but I'd heard your dad talk about it. And then he talked about bringing it back and how you were excited because you were the only boy in town who had one.
Well, I was fascinated that my dad hadn't seen it, so I actually did a search on this, and it's estimated that 21 to 31% of people have never seen Star Wars in the U.S. I looked in North America, so it's not everybody has seen this, and not everybody gets it. Okay, so Nicole, question for you: do you think this fascination with this movie is mostly a boy thing? Does this
Yes.
skew male?
Yes.
Oh, what?
And-
What?
For
Like
sure.
most of
And
my
also,
female coworkers are.
I hear
Really?
I
pushing
hear
it. Yeah.
I hear so many stories from almost every woman that I've ever met who's like, who wants, every boyfriend they've had is like, you haven't seen Star Wars? That's like, you're missing out on life. And like, it's like, they all feel the need to make their girlfriends watch it. Even if their girlfriends are like, I have zero interest. I hate space movies. I don't like action movies. Like, I have no interest. They're like, nah, you're gonna love it. Which,
Funny you say that, because we must run in different clouds, because I know more women who like Star Wars than guys.
I know a lot of women who like Star Wars too.
I know there's a lot of women who like Star Wars, but I think percentage-wise it would be more men.
And by far the biggest fanatic I know is a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, interesting. Okay, well, a couple quick questions for you guys. Favorite character from this movie?
R2-D2.
Oh. I thought I was going to be the only one. I'm a sucker for a character who doesn't speak. And
Yeah.
Bleep bloop.
That he was mine
has
as
always
well.
been my favorite.
If we're limiting
You say
us...
he doesn't speak, but 2 of the quotes I wrote down are his. If you recall, he said, beep whistle bloop, and he also beeped sadly.
I like his sad beeps are good.
R2-D2,
Well-
definitely one of the best characters.
Really? Are we all R2-D2 here? I'm not. I'm a Darth Vader guy.
Well,
Fair
one of
enough.
my favorite movie tropes ever is when a character is having a full conversation with a character that we cannot, like, the viewers cannot understand at all. So you're only hearing one half of the conversation and they're acting like exasperated with nothing coming back in return.
Yeah, I do like
It's so
that.
funny to me.
I'm a Darth Vader guy. I like a guy in a cape. Shout out to Matthew. You look good in that cape, buddy.
It's a great cape.
Yeah. I just need to get you that dark helmet.
Are we bringing capes back? Because
You would
I'm
be
in.
the coolest friend I had. Capes are back, Sean.
You know what? In the Star Wars parody I saw, my favorite was the Darth Vader.
What, Spaceballs?
No, the drag race version of it.
Oh.
I loved that one.
Everyone
That
has done
one,
a parody.
pretty good.
Okay, next question. Favorite Star Wars movie in the franchise?
The first one.
I'm an
Favorites?
Empire Strikes Back guy.
Yeah.
I'm also Empire Strikes Back. That is
And,
the best one.
and I only like the first trilogy. I don't like, Josh, I think you said the same thing. I don't like the 3 prequels. They didn't really do anything for me.
Controversially, I'm a Force Awakens fan. That's my favorite movie.
Oh,
You know, I liked Force Awakens. I despised everything that came after it.
I like this one because lots of the things I have problems with haven't happened yet.
Also, shout out to Rogue One. I think that's a really good
Rogue
story
One
movie.
is the best
Oh.
of the modern movies.
Sorry, Nicole, you mean in the movies? Sorry, I thought you were
What
saying you like this one because the problems you're going to face in life haven't happened yet. and I was trying to look for like the deep, meaningful thing.
No, I meant the movies.
Okay, I get it.
trust
now.
me, Nicole's problems in life have happened already.
I'm knee deep in problems, Matthew.
One of her problems in life was agreeing to do this episode.
Oh yeah, it was a fight to get me here,
No-
but I'm here.
Normally, I try to pick the cast of people that are really into the movie or interested in the movie, but I brought Nicole as a contrarian. Okay, another quick question for you. If you could only pick one, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Wars. My husband watched. I've been with my husband for 20 years, and Star Trek has been on the television consistently every week for 20 years.
The original series, these
All of
spin-outs?
them. He watches all of them, and then he starts watching them again.
Wow. What does he think of Star Wars then? Because he sounds like he's a nerd, sci-fi nerd.
So he says that Star Wars, the original, he's like it's about the redemption of Anakin Skywalker and nothing else. So that's nerd talk.
I don't even know what that means.
We won't acknowledge that I do. Anyway, moving on.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to slide into best parts because I've got most of my content in best parts and worst parts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who wants to start throwing stuff down for best parts?
The trench run.
Oh, are we gonna start
Best
with
part?
best? Okay.
Best part, Mark Hamill, love him. He's a phenomenal actor.
Mark Hamill is one of the best actors ever, and
One
I
of
wish-
few things that kept me interested is how much I love him, and it was interesting to see him young.
Well, obviously you
Watching-
guys have not seen Corvette Summer.
So, Nicole, you need to go find the clip of Mark Hamill talking about some of the awkward dialogue that George Lucas tried to get him to say in that movie and that he fought against.
Oh, I will do that. But
There's some good ones.
One of my favorite shows of all time is Fall of the House of Usher, and Mark Hamill is phenomenal in that.
Yeah, he's really
the
really
best.
good in that. Yeah.
He's so talented.
Okay, well, based on that comment, we're going to do a future episode, Corvette Summer, and I'm inviting this exact same cast back, and I'm gonna replay that comment. That will be fun.
All right.
Okay.
You know, my favorite scene, and this is purely emotion of being a child, is the very beginning of the movie when this, and like you, Olen, I think this is the first movie I'd ever seen in the cinema. Maybe I saw a cartoon in the cinema. When the Star Destroyer comes from above at the very beginning, I can remember to this day my brother going, "Wow!" Like he was 8, I was 7. And it was one of those moments where we look at each other and we're like, "This is gonna be so good." So to this day, when I see that, I remember that moment with my brother.
Well, can I build on that? It's not. I would say one of the things that I have as best is the models, not the special effects per se, but the models.
Yeah, the miniatures are so great in this
And the
movie. I
ship
love
designs are probably one of the most iconic things out of Star Wars. The Star
and again,
Destroyer will always be my favorite ship ever.
Shout out to practical effects. I mean, I will take a practical effect that looks slightly cheesy over a digital effect any day.
I still think one of my favorite effects in this is the speeder with the, apparently all they did was like hook a mirror onto the bottom. It just has wheels under there. I think that's so cool that it just looks like that.
Especially if you watch the original where they didn't clean it up.
Yeah. That's one where when you said that it does have its advantages, I was like, yeah, that's fair enough. But yeah, I'll minus out the CG characters for myself, please.
Okay, I have a couple of best things here. First one is a one-handed lift and throat crush. I think that's. I wish I could do that.
Well, we'll come back to it, but one of my favorite quote is in that scene.
Oh well, you fire it out now.
Fire it out now.
Yeah.
Well,
what's the
my
quote?
favorite quote is as he's doing it, and Darth Vader goes, "I find your lack of faith disturbing." I just love that.
That's one of my favorite lines as well.
Other good things I had, Death Star. Death Star is pretty cool concept, right?
It's a cool concept. Like I said at the very start here, the trench run attack is one of my favorite things.
Matthew, I have teamwork as best part.
Yeah.
I think they worked pretty well together. They all kind of just fell into their roles, and
I still get happy every time Han comes back at the end to save.
yeah, that's great.
One of my favorite parts, bar for aliens, really tapped into my love of creatures.
It's a very
Animals.
good choice.
Animals.
I love a good creature. Makes me happy. Interesting design, love it. Come up with something weird.
The animal bar.
In that bar scene, severing a hand in a bar fight, I think, is a nice move.
Yep.
Yeah. Why disarm the guy? You know,
The
hand
start
to
of
hand.
George Lucas's obsession with taking off people's arms, which is a very common thing.
Yeah. And I think the Marvel movies
Literally.
will do it in as a homage too.
Literally disarming them.
Oh God.
Haha.
And,
Nice.
and I don't think we can leave best parts without saying soundtrack by John Williams.
Oh,
it's so
yes,
iconic,
absolutely.
It is iconic.
right?
I also love the trope of wearing the other team's uniforms to blend in. And just
And
like
that they
walking
perfectly
around
fit
looking
you?
confused.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which leads to one of my favorite lines. You're pretty short for a stormtrooper.
Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
Yeah, come
that was
on.
good.
I also
Okay.
love Han trying to cover on the radio, being like, "We're
Oh, yeah,
fine
that
down
was-
here. We're fine.
All good."
How are you?"
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite.
And it's the look on his face after the "How are you?" where he's like, "Oh, I messed this up so bad."
Well, because I think he did flub that line. Actually, I think.
Oh,
that might
did
be
he?
I think that's like a goof.
Yeah.
But that he kept in. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
he ad-libbed
amazing.
it. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Totally.
I like
and
that more.
yeah, no, that was really good. I had that as a favorite part as well.
We do have to appreciate that Princess Leia was a very strong female character for the time.
Yep.
Because that wasn't a thing yet in movies. They didn't like to show strong women, so I appreciate that she took charge and
I absolutely love her ridiculing them mid-save, being like, "You guys don't even know what you're
Well,
doing."
she's not wrong.
Yeah,
they walk.
They were bad savers.
I didn't write it down, but like, what's her line? Like, Han Solo's like, the only one I take orders from is me, and she's like, it's a wonder you're still alive.
I like when he said something about impressing himself, and she said, like, I don't remember. Sorry, I started that and then it went out of my brain. I like fully started a sentence knowing what I was gonna say, and it immediately left my brain.
And your problems haven't even started yet.
Okay. So worst parts.
Okay,
And
I'm diving in. I'm diving in.
I have a lot of worst parts too, even though I love the
I
movie.
should have actually counted it. I didn't, and I wish I did. But it's from the end of the opening fight to Luke participating. That is like 30 to 40 minutes of just the droids walking through the desert. Like, I love R2-D2, but kill me now. Like, that's so long.
By the way,
nothing.
he runs on wheels, and those wheels in sand would suck.
It's honestly, Sean, it's like Lucas opened with a bang and then spent half an hour making us watch robots hike.
It pushes nothing forward. It is a meaningless 30 minutes that does nothing.
We
Agreed.
say this all the time, that back in the 80s and the 70s, these movies were too long. This is over 2 hours, and they can be tightened up.
You guys
easily.
You guys are forgetting about the high tension moment where they almost bought a different droid. Come on,
Right.
That was
Oh, and how about in worst parts? How about a droid that was, what was it? Just a bunch of broken lamps or arms, or was that a laundry rack? The droid that
Why
was just
did they
all.
choose that hideous, like, broken one over one that looked fine?
Oh yeah, R2-D2, perfect shape, clean, shiny. We're gonna walk past him without even a second look, and go to this crappy beat up one.
No, I got the answer for that. I know why. Because he had a flat head and you could put your beer down on it. R2-D2.
Well, you're getting
every
a
little
robo
vibration
job.
Robo head.
When we get to Return of the Jedi, Dad, you will take that back about R2-D2.
Okay.
I keep
worst
forgetting
parts-
Olen's your dad.
Worst
All
parts
of you, and I say
on
all
my
these rude
list.
things.
Nicole's used to it.
Yeah.
I just try not to acknowledge it because it
Okay,
hurts
good.
me every time.
You die
Okay,
inside
let me
a
hit you
little
with a few worst parts. So number one, having the hots for your sister.
Yeah, I actually, before I even took my notes on the movie, I wrote over a page on a scientific phenomenon about that. Because
Is it more than 12 steps?
I don't have to read all my notes.
I'm really curious.
I
what
could have done the
scientific
17 steps.
phenomenon is because so many people are angry about this and get so mad and think it's so awful, and I'm like, they don't know. So
right.
Yeah, there's actually a scientific phenomenon called genetic sexual attraction, where people who are separated, family members, biological family, who are separated before the age of 6, if they meet unplanned later in life, are quite likely to be sexually attracted to each other.
Growth.
Yeah.
Well, all I know is it's a very popular category in Pornhub. It's at the top every year of the rankings.
Well,
wait, why? I don't want to know why you know that. Never mind.
I
take
check
it
the
back.
rankings. I check the
But
rankings
it's,
every year to keep tabs on society.
Okay. But yeah, it's a phenomenon that's often brought up in true crime cases because it happens with biological family who are separated and then they meet later in life. It doesn't matter if they know or don't know they're related, but there's a few reasons for it. One of which is because they don't grow up together and like spend all that time together in their core years, that they don't get the like reverse imprinting that kind of blocks you from being attracted to your biological family. And then also, it's like, you're likely, like, genetics, it's a theory, it's not proved, but you're more attracted to people who are genetically similar to you. And so when you meet a family member that you, like, later in life, unplanned, then you like your genetics are like, oh, I should like this person, and then you get all like mixed up and you're like, well, clearly it's because I'm attracted to them, and then things happen.
And this is why there is a registry in Iceland that has a really small population, so that you can look up whether or not the person you're attracted to has relations to you genetically.
Yeah.
This is true.
That's a helpful government service.
It's shocking how many people are like conceived by sperm donors and then they just happen to fall in love and marry the like one other sperm donor baby out there who shares their DNA. Like, it's so common. They should have registries so that you know who you're related to.
It's disgusting. Okay, shout out to Iceland. Next worst part, I have genocide. Blowing up an entire planet, I think that's really a dick move.
I mean, yes.
But
Yeah.
that's
Even with an undergrad in building planet-destroying weapons, I'm
Yeah.
against it.
You use it for good, right, Sean?
Yeah.
Princess Leia's haircut, fashion crime.
It's so iconic.
Yeah, the
It's so
iconic
iconic.
It's awful.
Do you
It
know
is
how many
awful.
people mimicked that in the 70s?
And they should all go to jail.
And again, very popular in the Pornhub world.
Jesus Christ.
Look, things I don't
you
want to
know,
know.
the Obi-Wan and Vader duel, I think looking back, like as an 8-year-old, I'm like, yo, cool. As a 55-year-old, I'm like, bless him for trying.
It is so funny to see where the lightsaber battles would go. I think at some point in those prequels, those are like the only parts of that I enjoy of those movies.
Well,
I
that's
liked
because
when they were doing the lightsaber battle and they were just like making the tips of their lightsabers swirl around each other.
Yeah, that's a sex move.
It looked like it.
And then there's some stiff dialogue, and Harrison Ford actually said, you can type this shit, George, but you sure can't say it. Things like, but if I was going into Tosh Station to pick up some power converters, or if this is a consular ship, where is the ambassador? Some of the dialogue is really sort of like, it's written well, but you can't really speak it very easily. And I also think that C-3PO is a bit much sometimes.
I'm so glad to hear that, because I thought I was the only Star Wars fan who did not think C-3PO was great.
He's
annoyed me.
okay, but sometimes they just need to calm him the fuck down.
Yeah, he's
Right?
just got a
Give him a
character flaw.
Xanax.
That's all.
Yeah. It reminds me, though, when with Peter's plot summary, when he watched the movie and then Dad came over to talk to him and say, what'd you think? And they had like a 15-minute back and forth where Dad was trying to tell him the name of C-3PO and Oppa was just not getting it.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, his name is C-3-P-O. And Oppa was like, you mean the gold one? We were like, yeah.
Yeah, you got it.
And it was
The
also
space
partially
butler.
because they were having this conversation from opposite ends of the apartment. And no matter how much they were miscommunicating, they would not move closer to each other. And I was
funny.
stuck in the middle of that.
I hope you guys don't mind if this episode goes a little long, because I got 3 technical questions that I wrote under my worst parts.
Well, you allowed me to do my 12 steps, so we can do
Okay.
these.
So my first question, are lasers expensive to operate? Because why didn't they just shoot the pod? I would have shot it for practice.
Well, also, they should have known, like, they have technology to detect droids. They talk about it later in the same movie. So why didn't they do that? Why wouldn't you just shoot them all to be safe? Or send troops down immediately to collect it to be safe? Incredible stupidity.
And why don't TIE fighters have rear view mirrors? Because I had a problem with the trench warfare. Sean, I know it's your favorite part, but why do you have 2 guys following you that are just going to get shot in the back? Why don't those TIE fighters come from the other direction so that they can take out the people chasing you?
I mean, their job is to get shot in the back.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's on my worst part list.
The job is to take the fire before the guy in front.
Wow. Yeah, I guess
They're
that's
human
common in war.
shields.
Yeah.
I know it wasn't in this movie, but I wrote it down before I realized it wasn't in this movie. But Han Solo and Princess Leia's relationship, creepy.
You don't like it?
Well, he's 32 and she's 19. So no, I don't like it.
What's wrong with an age difference?
I think age differences when you're under 25 and your brain's not developed yet are inappropriate.
Yeah, but back then we were developed. People are undeveloped now.
No, it's not true. That's straight up not true, and it's creepy. He's preying on a teenager.
Oh, if she's a princess.
That doesn't make her less of a teenager.
Nah, she knows what's what.
Okay, Life of a Stormtrooper. Good job or bad job?
Bad job.
Yeah, I agree. I had it under worst parts.
I liked that they turned and ran at the first sign of danger every time.
And I don't like a job where I have to wear my helmet all the time for the whole shift.
Yeah, that PPE would not be fun.
No, for sure.
I mean,
Okay.
it has air conditioning built in,
That'd be pretty sweet.
right?
We talked about a couple of the favorite lines already. Let's throw in the last few before I get to the ranking.
May the force be with you.
That's number
Classic.
one.
Will somebody get this big walking carpet out of my way?
That's a great one.
I'm gonna start saying that about Charlie.
My
Hot dog.
favorite line, believe it or not, is "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope." I love that scene so much. I don't know why. Because when I was a kid, it's the first time I'd seen like a what do you call those, projection type thing? Hologram.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, and Luke pretty much instantly falls in love with her. Like, just off a little snippet of a clip.
Even though,
Back
yeah,
to the phenomenon.
hologram genes.
And these aren't the droids you're looking for. That's probably the line I quote the most.
Yeah, Justin has a T-shirt that says "Not the droid you're looking for" on it.
Of course he does.
I bought it for him.
Of course.
And then
you did.
remember when Obama did the Hope posters with that red and blue print?
Yes.
I have one. I bought one for Justin that has Darth Vader and it says "Fear."
Where's my Wilford Brimley shirt, by the way?
It's in my closet right here. I keep not giving it to you.
Oh my God, I think you secretly want to keep it.
Diabetes.
Okay, well, let's go into the ranking and Rotten Tomatoes, and I think there's not going to be a lot of surprises. According to Box Office Mojo Worldwide, Star Wars was the highest earning movie at the box office in 1977.
Quelle surprise.
No surprise, it did, in fact, over 3 times each of the next top 3 earners, which were Smokey and the Bandit, Close Encounters, and Saturday Night Fever. Did 3 times all of those.
I'm not surprised. At the time,
Annie Hall was the best picture this year. Do you guys think that's okay or unjust?
you say that like I know the movie.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Annie Hall was a good movie.
I hear a lot
I'm
of
mostly
people like it.
asking Matthew.
Annie Hall was a
the,
good movie.
Annie Hall was the best picture winner in this year. But Star Wars did win 6 Oscars, so it didn't win Best Picture. Annie Hall got that, but it won for art direction, costume design, sound editing, visual effects, and score.
Yep.
It was nominated, but did not win for director, Best Picture, screenplay, and supporting actor for Alex Guinness. And based on what you guys said, you think Mark Hamill should have been up for Best Actor?
No.
Not in this movie.
Not for this.
Okay, good.
He hadn't
He was
figured out
getting
his talent
started
yet.
here.
Okay, good. We're agreed.
Right now, he's at his peak.
So
He's good
here's the-
now. He wasn't so good back then. I actually always thought it'd be a better movie if he had been cast by somebody else.
Well, we'll talk about who they had.
Okay.
So the budget for this movie was $11 million. And what do you think it did at the box office? And let's talk about just its initial run.
I'm
Because
gonna go with just its original. I'm still gonna go like 35, 40. Nah, 40. Let's do 40.
40 million?
Yeah.
I'll go 70.
Josh, what do you think?
Well, I'm just trying to think of
I
what
was
you said
struggling
a
with the
second
era.
ago. So it makes me think it was really high. So I don't, but I guess I don't know what that means in the 70s.
That was my problem. What's really high in 77?
I'm gonna
And
say
also just the original run. I don't know what that means
I'll
either.
just say like 100.
Okay. I'm going to say like $400 million.
The problem with this movie is that it's basically been running constantly since 1977. It's listed as total box office take 775, but in the initial run, so just the first time it was in the theater, made $410 million in 1977.
Look at that shit.
And
So much money.
it's
Wow,
set
it's
the
$10 million
box
off.
It set the box office record, displacing Jaws, and it held the record for biggest movie at the box office until Titanic 20 years later.
Wow.
So
Wow.
pretty
That
strong
means it
showing.
beat its successes. Wow.
Now, let's do Rotten Tomatoes, critic and audience, and there's no reason you guys should not get single digits on this one because I think we all know it's going to be high.
I'm gonna do like an even. Probably about 5% of people are dicks. 95.
For audience,
Both. Just equal.
That was what I was gonna say,
I think
too.
critics and audiences like it both the same.
okay. So Nicole's the same. Sean,
I was thinking 85 for critics and then 95 for the peoples.
Josh.
Just because I figured there would be the odd critic who wouldn't like different.
There's always one.
Well, if they don't like different, then this is for them.
I'll come around the same, and I'll say 90 for both.
90 for both.
Yeah.
Okay. It's 93 critics and 96 audience. I think we all knew that these were going to be in the 90s. And
I thought
Nicole
more critics
and
would
Matthew.
be grumpy, though.
Yeah, you're right. Nicole and Matthew, you win with a 3. Yeah. And Sean and Josh, you both had a 9. So this movie is not the highest rated in the franchise. So out of the entire franchise, Empire Strikes Back is the highest at a 95.
Of course.
Yeah, people tend to like that one more.
The music by John Williams is ranked as number 1 on American Film Institute's 100 Years of Film Scores.
As pretty much all Josh.
Who did the music again?
John Williams.
Okay.
And you can pretty much always tell what movie he's done because it's amazing almost consistently.
American Film Institute has this as the number 2 sci-fi film after 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Okay. Fair enough.
And on American Film Institute's list of best movies of all time, it's number 13. With Citizen Kane being at number 1, which I say, really? I've seen Citizen Kane. It's not that good.
You know, I've always thought Citizen Kane's a little bit overrated.
It is. And talk about slow. Okay, some movie trivia for you guys. So here are a few little trivia items under the theme of you should believe in yourself, right? All of you should believe in yourself. George Lucas was so sure this movie would flop that instead of attending the premiere, he went on vacation with Steven Spielberg. Were they a couple?
Could have been.
It was on this vacation that they came up with the idea for Raiders of the Lost Ark. George Lucas showed an early cut of this movie to his director friends, and most of them said, "What were you thinking?" Brian De Palma called it the worst movie ever. Nearly everyone, including Lucas, felt the movie would be a flop. Only Spielberg predicted that the film would be the biggest movie of all time. 20th Century Fox was so sure this movie was going to be a disaster, they tried to sell it off as a tax shelter. But after some initial positive feedback, they changed their mind, and the profits from this movie saved the studio from bankruptcy.
Wow.
And last one on this theme, George Lucas accepted a lower salary on the movie in exchange for merchandising rights. He got only $175,000 salary, but he got 40% of the merchandising rights, and people thought he was crazy.
Yeah.
And just to show you, we know that this is in the billions, but just in the first year, they sold 40 million units of Star Wars toys and made $100 million in 1978.
That's
It's
incredible.
insane.
Yep. Smart
So that
guy.
was a smart move.
Yep.
This is a fun one. R2D2. The name R2D2 comes from sound production lingo for reel 2 of second dialogue track.
Did you ever see when Carrie Fisher did that speech where she joked about the merchandising? She said every time she looks in the mirror, she owes George Lucas $1.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, this was a game-changing movie in that this is really when toys for movies and merchandising took off.
It was first this one, and the next big one was E.T.
Yep.
I also just want to make a shout out to Masha Lucas, who was George Lucas's wife at the time, who was a huge part in editing this down into success. She tends to not get credit for it, but was a really large component of making these good.
Oh, nice shout out, Sean.
Good to know.
Good to know.
Is she shouted out on the credits?
I don't know if she's on the credits, but no one ever talks about her, and she was a huge part of the first two.
So, Matthew, you probably know this, but Sir Alec Guinness, the classically trained actor, was frequently described the experience of making the movie as a bad one, and consistently claimed it was his idea to have the character killed off to make sure he wouldn't have to carry on saying these rubbish lines. He thought the movie was shit when he was doing it.
Was that Obi-Wan?
Yeah.
Yep.
Apparently, he's also not very nice to fans.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Another technical question here. If somebody says, I'm looking for a guy that lives around here called Obi-Wan, don't you automatically think it's Old Ben Kenobi? Obi-Wan
Also,
Kenobi?
talk about bad alias. I want to
Yes.
be in hiding, so I'm going to change my name from Obi-Wan Kenobi to Ben Kenobi. No one will
Yeah.
find me.
Yeah. I would have
Well,
changed it to like Knievel.
Maybe people would think it's your brother.
Well, maybe he
Clearly
also
they did
needed
for
to
a while.
be found in case he was, like Leia knew where to go.
There's lots of interesting trivia, so bear with me here. George Lucas based the character of Han Solo on his friend Francis Ford Coppola.
I was just gonna say, I don't think you should be friends with him anymore.
In the original script, Luke was a girl. Arguably he was, anyhow. Han Solo was an alien. The Wookiees were called Jawas, and R2-D2 and C-3PO were called A2 and C3. And then some casting information. George Lucas wanted Orson Welles to do the voice of Darth Vader, but decided against it, feeling his voice was too recognizable. I think everybody knows the story that James Earl Jones was put in later, so he wasn't cast for the role of Darth Vader's voice. David Prose, who was Darth Vader, delivered all the lines in the film, but George Lucas decided later that his thick Devonshire accent lacked the menacing tones that he wanted for the character. So it was all ADR after the fact.
Devonshire accent on Darth Vader's hilarious.
Can you imagine? Oh, jolly good.
Have you seen I love the clips are out there. It's great. It's so funny.
Are they? Is it jarring?
No, well, it's like this guy is not a threat. It takes out all of the punch of the character.
So,
I love that.
more casting. So for the role of Luke Skywalker, these guys all turned it down. So they were offered the role. James Caan, Jack Nicholson,
No.
Robert De Niro, and
No.
Burt Reynolds.
Why is it always the same five fuckers in the 70s?
That's what movie studios do.
Well, credit to George Lucas that he ended up casting a lot of people that were relatively unknown, and I think it worked.
Did?
For Han Solo, they considered Kurt Russell, Nick Nolte, Christopher Walken. That would have been hilarious. Sylvester Stallone and John Travolta. Again, the same fuckers.
John Travolta.
I'm Han Solo, eh? Yo. And Matthew, you probably know this actor. Toshiro Mifune was considered to play Obi-Wan Kenobi. So he's known for, a Japanese actor, known for all of the samurai films.
Yeah.
But apparently he turned down the role because he thought it would cheapen the image of the samurai. I really like the samurai themes that run through this movie. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, woke or joke? And I don't have anything woke or joke other than my one question is, can you do that many Cantina alien types without having at least one racist looking alien?
But is the racist looking alien in your mind?
I didn't see any aliens that I thought were racial stereotypes, but he saw a lot of them.
Oh, I
They,
think
they,
that's, yeah.
they all looked Asian to me. Maybe that says something.
That came later with Jar Jar Binks.
I was gonna say that's more of a prequel conversation with the potentially racist character.
I watch a lot of alien things, though, so... Oh, no.
Why did they get divorced?
Star Wars tore them apart. It's a classic tale.
Okay, so reviews for Star Wars. However you guys felt about this movie, I promise you there's others who liked it more or less than you. And for this movie, there were a total of 2,197 reviews, which is no surprise. 1,053 of these were 10-star reviews. So almost half of them were 10-star reviews. So it was impossible to review them all, but I did my best to try to grab some representative quotes. So, considering what had gone before, including Star Trek, this film must have left audiences speechless, as there was literally nothing else like it. The next one, for pure visual and oral pleasure. I think it's auditory pleasure, not oral. I don't like... Or maybe they meant oral pleasure. So for pure visual and oral pleasure mixed with basic emotional manipulation, there's never been and never will be a better example of cinema than when Star Wars appeared 25 years ago.
They just spelled oral wrong, Olen, A-U-R-A-L. They probably spelled it O-R-A-L because they're morons.
Star Wars is simply a fantastic film on every level. This film is amazing. Star Wars is, in short, an incorruptible masterpiece on film, a film that launches the genre of science fiction, propelling films about utter space to unheard heights. I don't think it really launched the science fiction genre, but anyhow. Okay, now we hear from people who liked it less, and out of 2,197 reviews, there were only 63 people brave enough to shit on this movie. So here are some excerpts from that. It would be easy to dismiss this movie as nothing but fluff to entertain kids, but unfortunately for many people, this thing has become their religion. Folks, get a life before it's too late. It's just a movie.
Video games. Lunchboxes.
Yeah, my life revolves around lunchboxes. They're my religion. I pray to the lunchbox gods.
I'm pretty food focused.
Well, I don't keep food in my lunchboxes. I keep rocks in my lunchboxes.
Do you really?
Wow. Okay, another one. I really have nothing but contempt for the Star Wars franchise. They threw an A-level budget at F material and created a juvenile hit which lowered the bar for science fiction movies. This person says, so boring, I don't even remember what happened. It was like someone was dragging me through a pit of sand for 5 hours.
Yeah, that was only the first 30 minutes.
That was only the first 30 minutes, yep.
Okay, I do have to say, though, I'm not the only one. I have other people who agree with me. This movie is so incredibly forgettable. I've seen it so many times, and in 2 days, I won't be able to tell you a single thing that happened.
That's how
It
they make.
happens every time.
That's how they make their money. So you have to keep seeing it.
It's so forgettable. I literally, the only reason I remember right now is because I have notes in front of me, but we watched it 2 days ago, and then last night I was like, I don't remember anything. How am I supposed to write more notes? So I had to watch parts of it again.
I think that's ADD.
No, because I remember so many other things. I remember all the other movies we've watched.
Okay, two more one-star reviews. I can't see how any adult could sit through this mixed bag of Sesame characters. Wow. And finally, we have a technical criticism. If someone steals your password, you don't go after them and make them erase the password. You just change the password.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's fair criticism. Okay, let's go to the experts, Siskel and Ebert. So Siskel said it was visually engaging and mindless fun, but said he hoped Hollywood would remember that there are people who want to see serious movies too.
Well, Annie Hall won Best Picture that year, you dork.
Kind of a backhanded compliment.
It's a great movie for losers.
There's the quote of the day. Thanks for the cold open, Nicole.
Oh no.
Ebert called it pure 100% escapist entertainment and said it's a delight for all audience types. He called it a never-ending visual delight. 2 thumbs up.
He was less crabby, wasn't he?
Yeah. Siskel was more uptight, but the problem with these two guys is they hated each other, so they would just take the opposite view.
I didn't even know that. That's funny.
Remake. So does this movie deserve a remake, prequel, or sequel? Well, I think we know the answer to that.
Yeah. They're working on it.
I wrote, no, please don't bring this back.
But I want to make a shout out here. My favorite is the Family Guy remake of this. Have you guys seen that?
Of course, yes.
It's brilliant. It's brilliant. My favorite part of that is Stewie as Darth Vader when he says, "So this Death Star is not destroyable, right?" And the guy's like, "No, mostly." Well, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask. You don't sound confident.
My favorite is the Drag Race remake Bra Wars, where Darth Vader shoots lasers out of her nipples.
Did you know that there is a talk show in the UK called I've Never Seen Star Wars? And it's because the first episode, somebody had never seen Star Wars, and it's celebrities doing things they've never done before. Like somebody be like, I've never eaten but the show is called I've Never Seen Star Wars.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it sounds like a good
It was
premise
on
for podcast.
originally on Radio 4, but yeah.
Okay, so I have to ask you guys, are we tired of this franchise yet, or are we happy if it keeps going?
I got tired of it after the third one. I have to say I've never followed. Like when I watch a Star Wars movie, I watch the first 3 and nothing else. We'll give it another,
Sean-
20 years? Yeah.
I feel some fan fiction coming from Sean.
You just have to dig. It's already out there.
Okay, well, let's wrap up this very fun May the 4th special episode and ask the group, is Star Wars too old or pure gold?
This one, pure gold. Jesus.
You called it too old, Sean. Wow, interesting. I'm going to call it pure gold. I think it's a classic that people should see.
Yeah, I wrote that I might have to begrudgingly call it gold, but now that you say that, I realize if I didn't know the legacy it left and I didn't know how it influenced other things, I would say too old.
Okay.
It's just that I respect the legacy it has left.
Okay. Great. This was a fun episode. Thanks for everybody for being on this. Happy Star Wars Day, everyone. And let's get a couple of plugs here. Josh, do you want to tell people where they can find your podcast and your comedy?
Yeah, you can absolutely obscure. We're on YouTube and Spotify, anywhere you want to listen. We just released a doozy of an episode. Maybe one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Called Shadow of the Monarch. Would not recommend.
Except to
Yeah,
think
watch
it's
our
terrible.
review. That's fun.
Matthew, do you have anything to plug?
Yeah, listen to the Dark Poutine, which is a true crime and dark Canadian history. Smoke uncommon cannabis, and get your prostate checked.
Also, I've started going through Dark
In
Routine.
which order?
Oh, have you?
Very good. Yes, very good podcast. I'm
Oh,
liking
great.
it a lot.
Glad you like it.
Sean, do you want to plug your planet-destroying weapon repair shop?
But he's
Well, actually, it's a
repurposing
mobile
it for-
service.
He's repurposing it for construction. We talked about this, so that's okay.
Nicole, what would you like to plug?
This podcast,
Great.
it's pretty solid. Start it again, that's what I do. Just listen to it on a loop. If you want a good episode, I really liked The Thing. We covered that. That's a better alien movie, I think.
That's it. Well, that's a great movie for sure.
I recommend it. It's a fun it's a fun episode to listen to, and it's a fun watch. And Matthew sucks.
Maybe that's the cold open.
I love you, Matthew. No.
Pew 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 pew.
Pew pew pew. Wait, can you do a Chewbacca impression?
Bye, Sean. Bye, Josh.
Yeah,
Thanks
nice
for
to meet you.
joining, guys.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
It's always fun.